what's up, everybody? Isaac here with Civil Engineering Academy, coming at you again with another fun episode of our podcast. Today I've got a special guest. He reached out to me, sent me a awesome testimonial of a course that he took, which is the Ultimate Civil FE Review course, which is our course that we created through Civil Engineering Academy. Created that with my brother Mark. It's an awesome tool if you're studying for the FE exam. Anyway, he had great success. I wanted to bring him on the show, ask about his experience, see what it was like for him. He's actually from Alabama, from a small town in Alabama, graduated from UAB, and now works as a civil construction inspector. He's been out of school for about 5 years, but he got his FE done, and now he's working on his PE, so he's had a lot of success there. So it's an exciting journey. The FE and the PE is both a big journey for everybody, and I just wanted to pull him out of the crowd. We've had a lot of successful students in those programs. If you want to go check it out, it's civilFEreviewcourse.com. And I pulled him out of the crowd, and we want to do a quick interview and see how the course went for him. Maybe some tips and tools he has for other students taking the FE exam and things like that. You're going to get to know him a little better. So he goes by DJ. It's going to be a good one, and it's coming right up. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got DJ on with me on the podcast episode. This is exciting. DJ, I will have read your bio already and things of that nature, but I just want to say hi. How's things going?
Things are good. Thanks for having me, Isaac.
Hey, appreciate it. This is going to be fun. I know I will read a brief bio about yourself, but I always want to ask my guests about their own bio. Like, why don't you describe your own background, where you're at with your journey in civil engineering and things of that. And how did you get into this? Things of that nature.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in North Alabama. Always enjoyed science and math. My father directed me to engineering. My older brother is 4 years older than me, is also a civil engineer. And I went to school at the University of Alabama at Birmingham for engineering. I actually tried a couple different types of engineering before I landed on civil. But once I got here, I really loved it and all of the curriculum.
That's great. What does your dad do, by the way? I'm just curious.
My dad's an electrician.
Okay.
He has an engineer's mind,
Gotcha.
but didn't go to school, and so he's an electrician who's worked in construction, electrician construction for 30 years, I guess, or something, however old he is. And he manages a datacom low voltage division at an electrical contractor here in Birmingham now.
I was just curious. That's always fun to hear.
Yeah.
Some of those role models, but okay. So you got your brother who graduated in civil engineering. You saw that was a good step. Keep going.
Yeah. So I finished engineering school in 2015 and started working a little bit later at my company that I'm at now, who does civil engineering inspection for mostly DOT projects. And so I've been working closely with the Alabama Department of Transportation for my 5-year career. I've been an inspector, started out, just learning construction and inspection through jobs I started out on a basic paving job with some replacing curb and gutter and asphalt paving and striping and really small scale like that. And then moved to a job with 2 conventional bridges, steel girders, and really learned a lot about the structural properties of bridge building and construction in that sense, vertical construction.
And I think that's a great place to, you're out of school, you're just starting. I think that's a great place to be because you're getting hands-on experience.
Yeah, I love the fact that I started out in construction because I've learned a lot more than I think I could have about real life building and civil engineering than I might could have in in design. Not
That's
to knock design,
fantastic.
but I do love construction, and I love what it's taught me. And so from there, I moved on to a much larger project. It's actually the two bridge project was phase one of a large intersection redesign between two major interstates, really the two major interstates in Birmingham, I-65 and I-5920. And so I went to that portion that is just that interchange with a project that had about 20 bridges, conventional steel girder, concrete girder, long spans. We built one bridge that's 160 feet up in the air with 42 spans, and really got a really intimate knowledge of what bridge building looks like, and that was a lot of fun.
That's fantastic.
It was a lot of work, but I was really thankful to have that experience. And then after that, I moved to the third phase and final phase that I'm currently wrapping up right now with two over a mile long segmental bridges. That's been really fun. I've been working mostly on earthwork, road building, subgrade buildup, and asphalt buildup, curb and gutter stripe. That's been my purview on this project mostly.
What's your, I guess, is that it sounds like that's the area you want to go to, but is that the goal? I mean, or do you want to be something in the structural engineering world, or what's the goal that you have for yourself?
Yeah. So I really appreciate what inspection has taught me over these 5 years, but I'm not sure that this is what I want to do with my entire career.
Sure.
I like transportation, which is interesting. It's not something that I was really attracted to as I was going through school.
All right.
But as I worked in transportation construction, I really do enjoy it, and I think there's something special there.
Yeah, I noticed most engineers don't know what they don't know, until you get out there and do stuff. Go intern, go get some experience, and then you start realizing, oh, you know what, I like that.
And that's something I never did in college. I never did an internship while I was in college, and so I think that hurt me. But I do think probably transportation design is where I would like to go. But I think that I would just like to broaden my experience.
That's fantastic.
Learn some new skills, some new arenas of the construction and engineering industry that I don't know. I think now is a good time to do that, as I've been here for 5 years, and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to jump into the mindset you've had, because when we talked to each other, you recently took and passed the FE exam. You're preparing now for the PE exam, but just trying to dive into that FE exam mode. You were a student of the Ultimate Civil FE Review course, the course that we created at Civil Engineering Academy. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you took the exam after you had graduated. Is that right?
Yeah, so I graduated in April of 2015 from UAB, and then we had to take the test to graduate. We didn't have to pass the test to graduate, but there was a requirement for us to take the test before we graduated. And I didn't study for the FE. I took it right in the middle of my last semester, which was senior design courses and other difficult courses that kind of weighed my options between study really hard and pass the FE, or work really hard to get my degree and pass these classes. And so it was an obvious choice for me. And but I took it and failed, and that really affected me in a deeper way than I realized at that point. But after I graduated, I kind of decided in my head that I don't have to study anymore. And this is my chance. I'm not going to study for a while. Yeah, I'll go back and get FE eventually. Mm-hmm. But like for now, I just got out of 4 years of college. I don't want to study again. Right. I'm not going to spend another 3 months studying for the FE and take out again. deal with all that. So I decided that I was going to put it off until later, and I did not set a date to do that. I didn't really have a disciplined plan for me to come back to that. And so flash forward to 5 years later, April of 2020, I am married now. It was around my wife and I's first anniversary, and we had talked a lot about going back and getting this done for my career, for me as like a engineer standpoint, and like I put a lot of value into myself as like how I'm viewed as an engineer, and like if I'm an engineer without an FE or a PE, then what am I really? I want to get to that later because that's not true, but it was encouraging. My wife and I had a lot of difficult discussions that led me to searching for a course, because I knew that, one, I didn't feel like I was going to be disciplined enough to just go and do the studying that I needed to do to pass this test. I really needed some structure, somebody to walk there with me who knew what to expect and could motivate me in a certain way that I needed to put in the work that I needed to. So, 5 years after I graduated college, I started studying for the FE again, and I scheduled my test for October. I said I have 6 months to study for this test, and I bought the 6-month program for the ultimate civil FE review course, and I started investing 10 hours a week into studying for the FE.
That's great. See what a wife does to you. Just get you all motivated.
My wife is like the MVP of the story. Yeah. Yeah. So my wife, like back to what we were talking about earlier, as far as like not knowing really what I wanted out of civil engineering,
mm-hmm.
My wife is a doctor at UAB.
Great.
And as we were dating when she was in med school, she was going through these rotations, these like basically trial rotations where she's working in all these different units throughout the hospital. And like she gets to experience all these different things like a month at a time, where she gets to do this work, interact with these people in a certain way, and see if she likes it. That's something I really, really envy about medical school. And there's basically nothing else that I envy about it. But the fact that they were able to experience almost all aspects of medicine to determine what they really wanted to do was really kind of blew my mind when I found that out, because I was like, wow, what if I had that in civil engineering? That would have been awesome. All I had was this book that told me how to calculate a horizontal curve, and that wasn't.
I agree. There's always, you're always taught to go get, an internship, try to do that early. But, like we said earlier, we just don't know what we don't know. And there's no set program that gets you into experiencing a lot of different disciplines that are out there. I ended up in, a utility world, which is an electric company, working as a civil engineer, which is just awkward for me, for an engineer that's in civil. So, but I recalled some presentations in some of my senior classes and ended up doing transmission design work, but I would have never known that's kind of an area that I enjoyed or even wanted to go into. So I do wish there was a better program set up, like you mentioned, where you get to experience a variety of disciplines for an engineer to see that. And maybe there is one, I don't know about it, but I think that's spot on. Good advice. So going back to, I guess, the course, how did you find the course? How did you find Civil Engineering Academy?
I looked up on the Google machine.
Yes.
FE review course, and scrolled down and
there it was.
There it was, and I clicked on it, and I said they have a 6-month option.
That's awesome.
That's what I want to do, and so it was really no more complicated than that.
No brainer, huh? Well, maybe I can just pry into that a little bit more. Is there specific things that you liked about the course?
Yeah, I loved being 5 years removed from school. I loved that there were short review lectures that were available, along with just a huge bank of problems that I could access. And my process going into this course was, all right, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna take this section by section, listen to the review course, and then go in and work all the problems for as long as it takes me, and then move on to the next thing. I ended up going through that twice in the 6 months, and then after the second go around, I kind of went back and hit some things that I wanted to focus on. And so I went through everything twice, all the problems in the video bank, and all the videos, all the lectures.
Well, that's great.
And that structure was really helpful to me. Having videos walking through problems was really helpful, and that was what I appreciated the most about it. And I'll say this too, that the knowledge of the test that you guys have was really helpful. I think there was only one problem on the FE that I took that I didn't remember from ultimate FE review course.
Wow. So we did a pretty good job there.
Yeah.
Keeping you aligned with the actual exam. That's great. That's great feedback. I'm just curious, but did you also, what kind of support did you get? Did you get any support at all? And did you join that, as part of the course, there's a private Facebook community as well, but we also, allow people to email us whatever they want. And so we can get to it quickly, but just curious how you felt about support and if that was there for you.
Yeah. So I saw a Facebook community. I'm not on Facebook, and I didn't feel like getting a Facebook just to join this. And so I wasn't a part of the Facebook community. And I did feel welcome to access you guys through email if I had the urge. But most of the time, the questions that I had were answered in the comment section of the questions that I was looking at. Yeah. And so that was also a really helpful tool, is that we have a comment section underneath each problem that you can ask questions about. So
yeah, and most people have very similar questions. So hopefully we get those answered for students in there. That's great. Just going to the actual exam experience, just so maybe we could share your experience and hopefully help others. But what were your thoughts on when you're taking the exam on alternative type questions? Was there any issues there? Were you worried about it? Was it even an issue for you?
So what are you talking about?
Alternative type questions are not multiple choice questions on the FE exam.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They call them AIT or alternative item types, I think is what they call them officially.
I remember a handful of them throughout the test, maybe like conservatively 5 to 10. Like I think that it might have been less than 5, fewer than 5, and I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I really wanted there to be 4 choices, because I have a fill in the blank here, and there's infinity choices as to
Yep.
what my answer can be, and I don't like that. I don't. I was also confused. One thing that I would feedback for NCES is how closely is it graded as far as like, I think it would be helpful to know how many significant digits to
Yes.
answer a question to. I think that it would be helpful to like, or like decimal places or whatever, because I didn't know how specific I needed to be, where I needed to round, or how much variation there was in their algorithm to give me a right answer. And so like, I just kind of went with one decimal place on all my calculations and
Yeah.
tried to go with it there.
That's a great question. I don't know that myself. I bet there's an answer out there that we don't know, but that I
As
feel
somebody
like
who's
that
taken
would
the
be,
test, I really would have appreciated it being included in the question.
yeah, it should be as part of the question, or probably when you first sit down at a computer and sign all the beginning documents, it's kind of an explanation of, if you see this is what you need to do. Yeah, that's great feedback.
And another thing, I may have just like completely read over this or like not paid attention when y'all were explaining it or whatever, but I've forgotten. It was like this the first time I took it, but I'd forgotten that there wasn't a structured break time in the test.
Oh yeah.
That you finish the first 55 questions in the time that you finish those 55 questions, and then you take your break.
And do you
I was expecting
recommend
there to be a
taking
break. I do recommend taking it. Yes. Yes, definitely. I took a break and went and sat outside for a second and ate a sandwich and came back in with a little
Energized?
Oreo rush. Yeah. And I was able to sit down and kind of, I was still pretty fried, but a break has always worked well for me. And so I think in general, I would recommend that, but each person probably is going to be able to determine for themselves what's going to be most helpful.
Yeah, I agree. We always do recommend taking the break. It's going to give you, like we said, you're going to be re-energized. You need your brain to kind of give it a break and then come back, get after it again. So that's interesting. I like to ask this question just as part of your own journey, but what's one thing you wish you had known before you began this whole thing? Is there anything that was like, oh man, I wish somebody would have told me that?
Yeah. I guess you can include that in there. I really was surprised when and I'm thankful because I had a pretty calm demeanor in the test, but like if this loop would have been thrown me, and I was in a stressed out zone, I don't know how I would have handled this, but I finished 55 questions and I had flagged questions and stuff. And I was looking at my timer and it was like, all right, it's time to take your break. And like, I was just shook by that because I didn't realize that it wasn't like they didn't have a time scheduled for me to take a break. And so 55 questions, the first half of the test is the first half of the test. And then you take your break and you finish the second 55. And so as far as budgeting time, that would have been helpful for me to know. I wish I would have known that so I could be more conscious about how I budgeted. It worked out fine and my time was budgeted well.
So you're probably over 2 hours into it, I imagine, when you get that break notification. So yeah, that's a good point. Time management's a huge deal on the FE as well as the PE. And I love that you mentioned the right mindset too, because I think if you're not going in with like I got this, you've calmed down. If you're anxious about this, I think just going in with the right mindset is a huge part of this exam. And I'm glad you brought that up. But those two things, time management and having the right attitude, the right mindset, can give you a huge leg up on this exam. And I think it's really a key to passing because you're going to do all the other stuff. So you're going to get prepared for it.
Yeah.
Were you blown away? Was there, do you feel like there was a hefty amount of theory questions? Was that a is there anything like that?
I don't remember being surprised by a lot of theory questions. There was one question in particular that just made no sense as I read the question or as I read the answers. And so I got out of the test, and I prayed that was a test question that they weren't going to count. But in general, no, I think that the theory questions were regular and not super complicated, except for that one.
That's great. Well, I'm also curious, in your own experience, if you could do anything over again, what advice would you give to someone else that's kind of been in a similar situation as you?
Well,
or do you have any? Do you wish you would have done it earlier? You were fine doing it when you did it? Is there anything that you would recommend?
Yeah. So I wish I would have done it earlier. But honestly, like the way that it happened is no mistake. I had a lot of work to do for myself, and before I could make this journey. Like I was saying before, I had an issue with defining my value based on
this exam.
And like, who am I as an engineer, as a person, if I'm an engineer who doesn't have the FE or doesn't have the PE? I've got 5 years experience by now, and that's the only reason I would have hoped to have done it sooner, is because I could have been a PE for a year by now with 4 years of experience if I had taken the test in a more timely fashion. But that is what it is. But
at the same time, if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is people that don't have it, you're not valued any less. It sounds like, you're still contributing in a lot of different ways, whether you're in the construction world, whether you're doing anything else in the civil world, you're still making valuable contributions and can still find satisfaction and huge value in that. If I'm reading that right.
Right. I think my main point and my main struggle is like a person, not just talking as an engineer, is that like every person, including myself and any person who doesn't have the FE, my value as a person is intrinsic in me being a person. It's not about whether I have this FE or whether I have an engineering degree or whether I have a PE. It's based on me being a person and having value just based on that. And I'm no better or worse for having the FE. The fact that I have it is a blessing, and I'm thankful for it. And I worked hard for it, but I had to come to that understanding before I could even attempt to take the FE. I was afraid of failing because I was going to define who I was.
All right.
I know the promises that I have in my salvation and my walk with the Lord and with who I am as a person. This is true for everybody. Every person has value, no matter what place they are in, no matter what mistakes they've made in the past, no matter how many degrees or how many certifications they have.
Yeah.
That is something that I've had to come to an understanding of before I could even attempt this, so I wasn't afraid to fail. There was still some of that left over. In the 2 week and a half that it took for me to get my results back, you can ask my wife. I was definitely afraid of failing. And I told her multiple times that I felt like if I get a failing result, that is going to define who I am. And I had to have her and other people speak into my life and remind me of the truth that I know that I have value no matter if I pass this test or not.
That's great advice. I love hearing that. I think that's spot on. So, I'm a repeat taker myself. So do I crawl in a hole, or, do I get back and get after it? And what's funny is I created Civil Engineering Academy because of my own experiences through the struggles I went through. Right. Yeah. And so I didn't allow that to define me or allow me to not try to help other people or be successful in this arena. So I think that's great advice. It took me twice to pass the FE exam. The first time I took it, I was really early in school, and I had a study buddy that passed it his first time, and we were like juniors in college, and that made me so mad because, we were at the same level. I felt like I should have passed too. But this guy, I mean, everyone's got one of those guys that's just smarter than everyone else, and he was able to do it. And it took me multiple times. So it took me twice.
I got the same story.
So I'm just like, oh. But you get through it. Everyone's got a different journey. I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's really good advice for everybody, and I loved hearing that. So thank you for sharing that. I'm just kind of wrapping things up. Is there any books or other resources that you would recommend to the Civil Engineering Academy community at all to help with FE or otherwise?
So this is going to be like minuscule help for the FE if you want to do it, but otherwise, I think this is a really fun read. I have The Secrets of Mental Math, The Math Magician's Guide to Lightning Calculations and Amazing Math Tricks by Arthur Benjamin and Michael Shermer. This book is basically just a guide to being able to process in your head long math problems and being able to get precise numbers or quick estimation, which I think would be more helpful in an engineering realm. But for the FE, I have a calculator, and so if I knew all these things perfectly, I probably would still use a calculator in the FE. But this is a really, really cool book with a lot of interesting math tricks, and it really brings in the fun part of math for people who think that's possible.
Yeah.
So,
well, hopefully those
really
listening are all engineers, and they must have loved math at some point in their journey. Well, DJ, I guess we'll call you the human calculator now. You've read that.
Yeah.
Crunch numbers real quick.
Awesome. Don't test me. I'm not very good at it, but you can look up Arthur Benjamin on the on YouTube and be much more impressed than if you tested me on it.
Awesome. We'll get that posted for people. Is there any other tips, tools, habits that you've developed in preparing for the FE you would like to share with others, or any other anything else?
So, one other thing that I wanted to get to was included in the 6-month course that I got from the Ultimate Civil FE Review course is 2 practice exams. And those practice exams were, when I say integral, like probably the most integral part of my studying and preparation, because I took test number 1. This is 5 years out of school. I don't remember what tests are like. I took test number 1, timed myself. I had 6 hours to take this test. In the 6 hours, I finished 60 problems and got about half of them right. Time management is so important when we're talking about taking a standardized test, especially the FE. I learned that on my first test, went back, this was like 3 months into studying, or 3 or 4 months into studying. I took that test, probably 3.5. And then I took the second test about a month, 5 weeks later, had a much more structured view of what my time management should look like, much quicker off the bat to skip problems I didn't know and come back to it. And at that point, I was 4.5 months into studying out of 6, and I finished the test and had answered like 85 of them or 90 of them confidently in air quotes. I got some of them wrong, but I felt like I knew how to do them, and ended up getting around 65% of them right. And this is with me having I had a month and a half left to study and fine tune these rough spots. And so that is what I would say.
That's awesome.
The practice tests are so important. I used those to shape my game plan going into the actual FE, and that was super important.
That's great advice. What would you recommend for amount of study time during a week for people?
I think it depends. It definitely depends. It depends on how long you've been out of school, For me, I think that me being out 5 years is probably not a whole lot different than somebody who was out 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do this perfectly. So I would say that I probably studied about 200 hours for the test. I went into it around the end of April. I had my test scheduled for the 25th of October. I went into it saying, I'm going to study 8 hours over the weekends and 2 hours throughout the week. I'm still working a full-time job. I'm still busy. And so a total of 10 hours a week. I didn't do that perfectly. I probably missed 4 or 5 weeks of doing that regularly. And so I tried to catch up when I missed, but I would say that I put about 200 hours into it. And 10 hours a week is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I've passed the FE now, and now I would say that that's definitely worth it.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Thanks. And I agree. It depends on where you're at. If you're in school, you probably need less. If you're out of school, you're going to need more. So that's just the nature of it. We all forget things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just to kind of wrap this up, I always ask kind of a fun question, but if you had all the knowledge in the world, what's something you'd like to be a part of in engineering?
So I've been thinking about this. I actually have 2 answers. If you said civil engineering, I was going to say safe water for all.
Okay.
And I would love to work on projects that provide safe drinking water for people around the world. That's if I were going to go overseas, that's what I would feel like my role would be. I could be wrong, but
I actually, we had an interview with Charles Thompson just a couple episodes ago, and he told me that we actually have a lot of water issues right here in the United States. He works on a lot of Indian reservations, and they do not have running water or water quality and good wastewater management. So I was like, whoa, I had no idea, but there's issues just right here in the States. So anyway, lots of opportunities to help.
Yeah, but just in a broad engineering sense, I would definitely say sustainable energy, solar energy, making that. I mean, I have basically no knowledge of any of this, but it's something that interests me. Trying to figure out how to optimize solar, wind, hydro energy. So that would be something I would really want to work on. Also, related to that, if I can plug one more thing, the TV show on Disney Plus, Cosmos. It's a reboot of the Carl Sagan show from I think the 80s that Neil deGrasse Tyson hosts now. That show is awesome. I love it. I learn a lot. It like scratches my science itch and kind of talks a lot about like science, talks a lot about history and some of the less well-known scientists and visionaries in the science world that I never learned about in school. And so that's been really fun to me to learn and experience those stories. And like Neil deGrasse Tyson's a really good storyteller. And he's able to like to walk you through some of these experiences that these people through history have gone through to bring about, some of the things that we experience today. And so that's a really cool show. And I recommend it to everybody.
That was called Cosmos?
Yeah, Cosmos.
Okay. Go get your Disney Plus on if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Get
Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey. That's what it's called.
I'm going to go check that out now. Okay. Well, thank you for jumping on the show. I think you've shared a ton of value with anyone that's going to take the FE exam. If anyone wants to go check out the course, go check it out at civilfereviewcourse.com. We actually do have a special going on right now for those studying, but talk about that later. DJ, is there any last piece of guidance? What's the best way to get a hold of you if anybody had questions?
Yeah. So again, I would just the last piece of guidance. I would say believe in your value no matter what place you're in. If you have the FE, if you don't, if you have the PE, if you don't, you are worth something regardless of where you're at, of what your experience is, where you come from, what mistakes you've made. There is value in you as a person, and don't believe the lie that there's not.
That's great.
And my name's DJ Leslie. You can reach me on my email at DennisJamesLeslie.com. That's Dennis spelled regularly, James spelled regularly, and then Leslie is Leslie at Gmail.
Okay.
And you can hit my LinkedIn also if you want to. It's DJ Leslie.
Perfect. Well, DJ, thank you for jumping on the show. This was fun. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Isaac.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
What's up, everybody? I hope you enjoyed that interview with Dennis, or DJ. Sorry, I keep calling him Dennis. He wants to be called DJ. DJ. You know what? There's so many people preparing for the FE exam. The civil FE exam is the biggest FE exam, and I know there's many out there that are struggling to pass this. So I want to let you know about a sweet deal. Go take advantage of our Black Friday offer. It ends on November 29th. Use the discount code of Black Friday 2020. Take advantage of that. It does end November 29th at midnight Mountain Standard Time, so go check it out. And we want to help you. The course includes everything you need: modules, video practice problems, exams, support, private Facebook community. Everything is there to help you to ace this exam. It's exciting. Go take advantage of the Black Friday deal if you need it, and can't wait to help you. Just go check it out at civilfereviewcourse.com. That takes you right to the course. Or if you just want to go check out our main site, go to civilengineeringacademy.com. Anyway, I appreciate Dennis, DJ, coming on. Really enjoyed the interview. Hope you did too. Go find him. Go thank him for the interview. Go see what he's up to and ask him questions too. Anyway, with that, we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.